Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much for tuning in. And I'm pretty passionate about this topic. I think that Amy Coney Barrett needs to be, if heaven forbid, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is forced to retire or retires, I think that Amy Coney Barrett should be the next Supreme Court nominee for a bunch of reasons. Well, people say, oh, you used to be a Bernie Sanders supporter. Well, I am a strong Second Amendment advocate now. I have a Second Amendment channel. Please subscribe to that channel. To my super chat, thank you so very, very much. You might not have gotten a notification of this segment. So if you're on social media, go ahead and share it, please. This is really, really important. I think that Trump's Supreme Court pick, the next one, needs to be Amy Coney Barrett. First, let's start off with Politico. Trump White House urging allies to prepare for possible RBG departure. So to my super chat, thank you again. You give me every incentive to rock these live streams, especially when sometimes YouTube policies, who knows what is it, like if you say the name of a certain country too many times, or if you make reference to some word that's caught within an algorithm, they'll demonetize a segment, then you have to appeal it. So the super chat gives me greater added incentive to continue with these live streams, and I appreciate that. But Trump White House urging allies to prepare for possible RBG departure. This is the other day. If President Trump gives Republicans, thank you for Professor Chaos. Yeah, I don't think anyone got notification. If you're on social media, go ahead and share this segment. After an ailing Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg missed oral arguments, the Trump team began early groundwork for another potential confirmation battle. It wouldn't be a confirmation battle. What they should do from now on, after the Kavanaugh debacle, is simply expedite the process. You don't need Democrats are not going to be happy no matter what. They're not going to be happy. It doesn't matter. JFK could rise from the grave, and it wouldn't matter. George Washington could rise. It wouldn't matter if it's someone Trump picked. They're not going to confirm that person no matter what. Kavanaugh, before the something happened in a galaxy far, far away, we have no evidence, we have no eyewitnesses, we have no location, but something happened. He was seen as the safest pick, and look what happened. Democrats with Trump Russia, another myth. Democrats will fabricate and imagine with the help of media. So Trump needs to understand that the media is an extension. Well, he knows this, but the media is an extension of the Democratic Party. What better way, as like a judo move or a jiu-jitsu move, or using your opponent's, I guess an Aikido move, using your opponent's momentum against them, than to pick Amy Coney Barrett, a woman with 7 children, who has already been successful in a confirmation hearing, already made Dianne Feinstein look very bad. So the White House is reaching out to political allies and conservative activist groups to prepare for an ailing Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Politico the other day, possible departure from the Supreme Court, an event that would trigger the second bitter confirmation battle of President Trump's tenure. Why would it be a bitter confirmation? See, Politico is already explaining that it would be a bitter confirmation battle, but why? Why? Why would it have to be a bitter confirmation battle? If you get a qualified female like Amy Coney Barrett, why would it be a bitter confirmation battle? Already there was bias against her religion. So Dianne Feinstein says, well, the dogma lives loudly within you. There are a great many Catholic voters, millions and millions in the United States of America, that would be turned off, that would find the Democrats, however they try um, to undermine Amy Coney Barrett, they would find any political attempt to harm Miss Barrett as very offensive. That would single-handedly undermine Democrats in 2020. Amy Coney Barrett and David French wrote about this in the Washington Post. He brought up the idea of a cultural battle. And what she does is expose the Democratic Party, bias, xenophobia. Spirit of Friedman, hello. And so the outreach began after Ginsburg 85 on Monday missed oral arguments at the court for the first time in 25 years on the bench. Now, I really love Sticks. I love his political analysis. I really do. I listen to him every day, almost every day. And he made a great point. He said, look, if Trump picks somebody too conservative, he will be overreaching. It's going to hurt him in 2020. But Democrats are going to make any nominee seem like the most horrific choice. So I say that Trump needs to just appease his voters. In terms of the Second Amendment, she's a strong Second Amendment advocate, so that's a good thing, very good thing for me. And she would interpret the Constitution to protect free speech, to protect religious liberty, which one would think that Democrats want. But let's see, Amy Coney Barrett. So Amy Coney Barrett right here. Her philosophy is just simply interpreting the Constitution. She goes on here. This is a Washington Examiner article. We shouldn't be putting people on the court that share our policy preferences. We should be putting people on the court who want to apply the Constitution. So that's good. That's good. The duty of the court is to advance or impede upon a certain. The duty of the court is not to advance or impede upon a certain political agenda. A textualist in the mold of former Justice Antonin Scalia or Justice Neil Gorsuch would bind himself or herself with the written intent of the Constitution, rendering warnings that the court will evolve into a super legislature of conservative policy, all the more unfounded. So what she's saying is, she's kind of saying that Dianne Feinstein's concerns are like outdated or have nothing to do with who she is as an individual. She's saying she's going to interpret the Constitution, and she's not going to allow any bias to affect her. Obviously, her job is to interpret the Constitution. But see, she already handled that and passed that test with flying colors. When Dianne Feinstein, who, if a Republican asked the same question of a person of a different background, it would be never-ending turmoil and chaos and virtue and all of these things. So Dianne Feinstein, dogma, Amy Coney Barrett. This is a mother of 7, by the way. So, I mean, very accomplished woman, professionally. And you even have the Washington Post, the one Trump Supreme Court pick who makes too much sense. This is the Washington Post actually saying that she's great, and she checks a lot of boxes, like his previous pick, Justice Neil Gorsuch. She's young, 46, good on her feet, telegenic, unmistakably conservative, and with 7 children, has the kind of family you want sitting behind you during tense confirmation hearings. Could you imagine Amy Coney Barrett with 7 children and her husband, and Democrats trying to undermine her, trying to, with a public relations spin? It would completely backfire. It would completely make Democrats look like fools. Unlike Gorsuch, of course, she's a woman, a fact that could help mitigate the onslaught of questions of whether she would help overturn Roe v. Wade. No one's going to overturn Roe v. Wade. That's an old Democratic Party tactic. No one's going to overturn Roe v. Wade. It's not going to happen. Barrett is also from Indiana, which could apply pressure on its vulnerable. Okay, so as far as reinventing the court for decades to come, she's everything Trump's base could want. But she also gives something gives something Trump something. Oh, hey, that's a typo right there. Even the Washington Post. Look at this typo. Give something Trump something less tangible. She also gives Trump something less tangible. The opportunity to create a culture. Oh, so it was Aaron Blake, not David French. Okay, Aaron Blake. So that's true. This is 100%. He's 100% right. A cultural battle. Okay? A cultural battle. You want that. You want that. Trump has to do this. Anybody, if he picks a man, it's going to be the same nonsense all over again. And they're not going to see a pattern. They're just going to say, again, another person he picked with this background, with this scandal. Oh, my God. They're not going to say, oh, okay, this is obviously a political tactic. Notice how I'm speaking around certain issues because, like I said, YouTube policies on live stream, I have to be very careful. Again, another man with a history of doing horrendous things. He cannot. This is like a free throw. Like Trump just needs to get 1 point, and you got 2 free throws last second. So, I mean, it's like Barrett has served on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 7th Circuit for just 8 months, and it took a while to confirm her last year. And what wound up being a mostly party line vote, it's always going to be a party line vote, except maybe Joe Manchin will defect. If you're a Democrat from West Virginia, that would be a Republican in California or New York. Amy Coney Barrett has to be the next. Has to be the next pick if Ginsburg retires. Because there's no way for the Democratic Party. There is no way for the Democratic Party to flip the script. And also, when you're talking about, like, you cannot bring up a person's background and say that person would be biased. Now, I disagree with what Trump said about the judge during the election. I think that was wrong of President Trump, but I think it was equally wrong of Dianne Feinstein. Now, if you look, U.S. states by population of Catholics, just look at Florida. They're 21st with 21% of the population. Okay. Michigan, 28. They're 28th with 18% of the population. Ohio, 18% of the population, 29th. Pennsylvania, 24% of the population, 13th in the nation. So you're looking at swing states that are going to, with a great percentage of the population with the same cultural or religious background as Amy Coney Barrett, saying, wait a second, how dare you, Democratic Party? How dare you do this? How can you act? How can you condemn someone for their background when that is your propaganda technique when that's the propaganda that you run on? Oh, we're the party for all people. We're the party against xenophobia. Meanwhile, you push the Russian hacking nonsense. How can you do that? That's another reason. So Pennsylvania, 24%. This is worldatlas.com. You're looking at states, swing states. 18% in Michigan, 18% in Ohio, 22% in Minnesota, 17th in the nation. So you're looking at 1/5 of the voting population in these swing states. 1/5. Iowa, 18%. 1/5, almost 1/5 or more than 1/5. The same background as Amy Coney Barrett. And you're going to have Democratic senators try to disparage her. Imagine the uproar. And she should have been, it shouldn't have been Kavanaugh. She should have been the second nominee. Eric H526. Hello, HN, everyone. Love you, miss you all. Have Eric H526. Thank you. Thank you. Dave Underwood, thank you very much. Eric H526, thank you always for being such a great friend to me and this channel and everything. But I mean, think about that. You're looking at, Missouri, 16%. Well, Missouri's going to go Republican, but like Michigan, Iowa, 18%. Florida, 21%. Arizona, 21%. Texas, 23%. Nevada, 25%. You're looking at 25% of the population with the same cultural background as Amy Coney Barrett, or religious background, I should say. Illinois, 28%. And I understand, like Jewish people, Catholic people vote Democrat generally. But you still have 30% who vote Republican of Jewish voters and Catholic voters, and Latinos 30%, Asian Americans 30%. So Republicans are actually increasing their foothold, in all segments of the voting population. So it would just be the most perfect way. It would just be the most perfect way. Absolutely, I agree. I don't think there's no ethnic group or religion that are monolithic. I agree with you 100%, Professor Chaos, 100%. But what I would like to see is how the Democratic Party would try to disparage a woman, a mother of 7, a highly esteemed, accomplished constitutional scholar from Notre Dame Law School, or from Notre Dame, already serves on one of the highest court other than the Supreme Court, or one of the highest courts other than the Supreme Court. It's like, how are they going to disparage this? Because if they disparage Amy Coney Barrett, they're absolutely dismantling the propaganda that they've run on for years and years and years. The White House, quote, this is from Politico, is taking the temperature on possible shortlist candidates, reaching out to key stakeholders, and just making sure that people are informed on the process. They're doing it very quietly, of course, because the idea is not to be opportunistic, but just to be prepared so we aren't caught flat-footed. Okay. Ginsburg has a pulmonary lobectomy, the Supreme Court said in a statement, and her doctors said the post-surgery was, quote, no evidence of any remaining disease. Okay, good. So, but but her departure from the court would allow Trump to nominate a third Supreme Court justice, the most in one presidential term since Ronald Reagan placed 3 judges on the highest court during his second term. The 9-member court is currently divided 5-4 between its conservatives and liberals. Ginsburg's departure would make it 6-3. Departure would create the court's strongest conservative majority in decades, a scenario sure to bring intense opposition from Democrats and liberal activists. Let them be furious over October confirmation of Justice Brett Kavanaugh. What the left does is create and fabricate their own outrage. So if they don't have any evidence to be outraged from, they'll create it. Well, something happened with Trump, Russia. Something happened in the galaxy far, far away. We don't know what. It's a credible allegation. Meanwhile, any credible allegation against Clinton, namely an FBI informant, oh, where's the evidence? When it's gossip or hearsay or actually testimony, they demand evidence, Democrats. Where's the evidence? Well, what about the connecting the dots of millions upon millions upon millions of dollars flowing into the Clinton Foundation and a beneficial treatment taking place to the, oh, no, where's the evidence? But if it's the Republicans, oh, well, you know what? Coney said something and Peter Strzok said something and, you know, they really were concerned. So therefore, let's just create an investigation and investigate nonsense for 2 years. Because Coney said something in a memo. And so that's the thing. I mean, it's never ever enough in terms of you will never be able to appease Democrats because Democrats have one thing Republicans don't. Democrats have the media. And if you have the media, you don't have to have evidence. You can just live off of suspicion. I don't live off of suspicion of Clinton. I live off of evidence. My arguments are based on evidence. Money did flow into the Clinton Foundation. Oh, but also she did transfer top secret intelligence. Thanks to Ebenezer Adams and the Yahtzee, my last segment. And then you have Republicans who allow Democrats to torment them, like Jeff Flake and Mitt Romney and sometimes Trey Gowdy or Lindsey Graham, depending on how they feel that day. You cannot allow the media to dictate the future of this country. And you know, the dogma lives loudly within you, and that's of concern. That statement would be front and center, linked to every possible euphemism, and Twitter would just be hysterical. Twitter would just nonstop condemnation, and that's why I left Twitter. That's why I left Twitter. It's hilarious. People, there's like fake accounts just for me on Twitter, which is pretty much a compliment. What better compliment than fake Twitter accounts? I love that. I'm no longer on Twitter. I love it. I love it. But yeah, I mean, you look at what's taking place, and it's like William Barr has to flip the script. William Barr has to set up a special counsel. If he sets up a special counsel, it is game, set, match. Because, payback, even Steven, what's fair is fair. You have a special counsel based on nonsense with zero evidence and only suspicion. Great. You'll have a special counsel with actual evidence, an actual server with top secret intel linked directly to a foundation known for overt pay-to-play schemes. An overt racket. Years from now, ladies and gentlemen, years from now, what will happen with the Clinton Foundation will be the same thing that happened with the 2016 election. When I said that Clinton would lose, and I wrote endless articles about that, now people say, oh, well, we already knew that. And eventually they'll say, oh, well, we knew the Clinton Foundation was corrupt. No one's talking about that now. In fact, everything. So the Vox is like completely hypocritical. They even asked the question, is it anti-Catholic to ask a Supreme Court nominee how her religion affects her decisions? Would it be fill in the religion other than Amy Coney Barrett's? Would Vox ask that question about any other religion? And if I get too much into it, it would be against YouTube policies. So, of course, it is a prejudicial statement. That's the whole point. That's the whole reason that people were against what Trump said about one of the judges in 2016. He was wrong to say that. Trump was wrong to say that. But this week, ladies and gentlemen, you have William Barr confirmation. That's huge. You have William Barr being confirmed. The confirmation hearings, January 15th. That's on C-SPAN right here. Attorney General nominee William Barr confirmation. The Senate Judiciary holds a confirmation hearing for William Barr. The great thing about William Barr is that Democrats do not like him. They fear him, and that is a good thing. He has written against the Mueller probe. He has stated that there is more reason to investigate Hillary Clinton than Trump, and he is going into the nomination process with those viewpoints, and he's not recusing himself. They can demand all they like. They only have 47 to 53. So 52 to 48, 51 to 49, 50 to 50. Then you'd have what? So 3 turncoats, 3 or 4 turncoats. And then you'd have the vice president if it's a tie. But 2019 is set to be a completely different year. It's going to be a great year for this channel. It's going to be a great year for President Trump. I don't think it's going to be the same type of year for Democrats. Democrats are going to try to find some footing going into 2020. The election season is going to start this summer. So you're going to have election fever starting about July or August. Because the primaries are going to start January of 2020. So William Barr has to turn the tables. before this summer. He has to turn the tables. I just think that it's going to be very interesting. It'll be very, very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be very interesting. Attorney General confirmation vote. So he was confirmed in 1991. He'll be confirmed again. There's no way they're going to get him to recuse himself. There's no way they're going to. So if he turns out to be another Sessions, it won't be because he's deceived by Democrats. It won't be because he's just worrying about his own political or legal future. He wrote, 19 pages saying that you can't obstruct justice. Now they're just falling back on these old myths. Oh, well, obstruction of justice. See, they're not talking about Trump-Russia collusion anymore. Now they're talking about obstruction of justice. The one thing, they created a phony investigation specifically to ensure that Trump could not prevent the continuation of this phony investigation. So you're going to have the Senate Judiciary Committee January 15th, Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. That's 6:30 a.m. Pacific. Once he's confirmed, let's see, when will he be sworn in? And then you have the government shutdown that continues. So, I mean, this is the first time since Trump became president that media and Democrats can't dictate what takes place. He has all the cards now in terms of the government shutdown because Democrats derive political prestige, influence, power from government. Democrats hide behind government. They utilize state power as an extension of the Democratic National Committee. That's why the government allowed CrowdStrike and the Steele dossier to initiate investigations and to serve as evidence, even though it's absurd that it would even be evident. There was no predicate crime to begin with. So it's like completely absurd. But it's going to be interesting. I mean, it's going to be very, very, very interesting. You have a lot of what's taking place. You have a whole lot of, you have almost a new paradigm on the horizon. If you have a new attorney general, Trump's third pick, and if he gets border wall funding and he wins the government shutdown, and then they say, well, we only paid for a fence. I mean, like how it's like they really can't, and they're letting down their constituents also because they're not getting anything from it. Trump urged to reopen the government. Yeah, right. Senator Lindsey Graham, who is close to Mr. Trump, said a limited reopening of a few weeks would allow talks. Nope, don't do it. Lindsey Graham is wrong. Lindsey Graham is a conduit between the establishment. He's a little bit more of a more genuine Ted Cruz. Don't do it, Trump. Do not listen to Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham wants Trump to end the shutdown. Isn't that interesting? Do not do it. That would be the absolute worst move Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. It's been I think an informative segment, a quick informative live stream. Amy Coney Barrett she must be the next Supreme Court pick. I think that's imperative. Give me your thoughts. Thank you so very, very much to my super chat. Thank you. And I will see you very soon. Check out the uploads after this. Thank you.